right. Well, apologies for the delay. Um, had to get situated. Um, so apologies again for the delay. So what I wanted to do before we had our city council meeting today was really just wanted to address the community. Uh, we have unfortunately two serious things going on that are creating uh, massive amount of mental stress and endurance that we've never had to go through before. Here in the state, two state disasters that we are dealing with uh, right now. And I know a lot has not been said or pushed in our community about what we're doing as electeds and what City Hall is doing to really support the community. Things that and conversations that we are having to make sure that we come out on the other side stronger than we were going into this. And some of those things, just to give you an example of what we're doing, and not just because um, we believe there to be a problem here in Manor. And when I say don't believe there to be a problem, is there is not a lot of things being comments or concerns being expressed through the current chains, through the current ways of relaying information to City Hall, to the council, that have made us have a concern. However, that does not negate us from the responsibility of establishing new forms of communication, flattening the way we do business to make sure that the situations we're seeing regionally, the things we're seeing in our sister cities, the things we're seeing nationally, are mitigated as best as possible here within our city, right? Because at the end of the day, City Hall, the council, myself, even as mayor, the team, the fire department, the police department, the utilities department, we all can have an impact here locally for our residents, both within the city limits and the ETJ. So with that, was talking over the past couple of days with our chief and with our city manager, just asking questions just regarding, hey, what are the processes? We're seeing what the concerns are nationally and regionally, because we've never really had to ask those hard questions, or I've never really had to ask those hard questions because the team has been doing a great job. They've been doing a phenomenal job in not hearing any remarks. So what we're going to do is something that Chief Phipps has said he definitely wanted to have as well to flatten the lines of communication. Is I'll be launching a law enforcement committee. And the benefit of launching that committee is now we can really create a system that has the mayor, two council members, the city manager, the chief of police, and have a system to be able to receive the comments, the concerns, the recommendations that the community has, especially as we continue to grow, right? And we continue to create new housing developments. We continue to have additional school facilities and new businesses and so forth. Really make Manor more complex, right? To have this committee in place so that way certain trends or whatever may can be passed along from you in the community. And I know a lot of times people that want to communicate may have fear of reprisal, right? To establish this system where you can be able to communicate anonymously if desired, and these things come to a committee, a group of individuals, and so that way we can review it, check and balance across the different policies, the different contracts and so forth of how our police department, different law enforcements operate and engage. If there's questions that deal with entities outside of our Manor police, as far as the sheriff's department or the constables, then that committee can be able to ask those questions and through the model being put together and receive that back and be able to disseminate to the community through a type of a report or something. So something that's definitely needed. I think more so now just because of the different types of injustices that may be occurring unintentionally, right? So definitely, I want to highlight that we will be launching a law enforcement committee just to continue to further improve the great work that Tom Bolt, our city manager, and Chief Whip Ryan has already done. There's another continue to progress and progress and progress and to make this city better, right? Um, those of you that end up coming here tonight for the public comments, just want to put it out there that we will not be able to respond to your comments, so it's no sign of disrespect, but legally through legislation, we're not able to speak on anything that is a non-agenda item. So we'll be taking notes. Definitely some of the comments that you put will be taken and be used to go to lead some of the initial things we discuss in the law enforcement committee. But also, we're going to have Chief here and I believe another police officer so they can be able to answer those questions. And this is something that Chief and both our city managers said they wanted to do because they didn't want anybody to walk away thinking they weren't heard, and they want to be able to make sure people feel that they can ask the questions, they can provide recommendations to council through the proper process that are the city council meetings try to establish through the public comment section, but also knowing what's going on right now in the environment, try to give those individuals a quick answer because they know what the ins and outs better than we do right now. So just know that as the city council meeting is being streamed on Facebook, and if you're logging in and watching that off of the city site, and you hear someone asking questions or presenting something to council during the public comments, and we're not responding, no, it's a legislative requirement that we do not speak on anything that's not an agenda item. However, we will have our chief and another police officer standing by to be able to talk to those individuals and give them the information that they're asking for that we're not going to be able to give at that moment in time during the city council meeting. Um, Another thing that is going on is today the governor just released his new executive order, GA 26, and basically it opens the state of Texas from 25% capacities to 50% capacity. So just know that's out as well now. My apologies. I do not know what date that is effective, but the new executive order just came out, got emailed to me within the last 10-15 minutes. So apologies for my delay reading through that to see exactly what that entailed. Also, some other things that are going on. We're, talking right now about the social injustice, the inequities of the system. Um, Talking with my fellow elected officials in Austin and Pflugerville, with our county commissioner, with our state representative Cheryl Cole, with other organizations, and really having the talk and saying, all right, we may not be able to have an impact at the state level or the national level, but we can have an impact at the local level that we have a role and responsibility and oversight on, such as how can we strengthen the great work that our police department is doing? How can we look into what the police academy and how they're structured and how they operate, right? Because we're sending potentially our people there that want to become police officers to get trained. And so with that, we are in discussions, we're having discussions, and discussions are really around looking at the policies, the contracts. Again, the same thing I just said about the law enforcement committee doing here within the city of Manor. We're talking about doing that across different cities and us getting on the same page and enhancing each of our cities to be even greater than what they already are, right? And greater means, there are negative things going on, but greater meaning having a better positive impact than what they currently do right now. And from there, basically identify what stuff within those policies and those contracts may be outdated, may be old, or not fitting the contemporary, the current need of our society. And then from there, then looking and saying what organizations, what entities, what things could potentially gap fill if they cannot be implemented through legislation or through the city, if it's a city responsibility, if they cannot be implemented due to maybe a funds restriction or some other type of constraining resource, right? So what other types of organizations can probably help supplement or offset areas that we identify that need to be enhanced or need to be revised or just plain out need to be updated, right? So we're going to be looking at that and then working with the different entities and organizations that represent this population. And this population meaning every underserved, every underrepresented, every low income individual, because it's not just the African Americans, even though that's the most prominent that we see on TV. It's not just the African Americans that are receiving the inequity of the current society, the justice system, and what we will then try to do is try to combine the voice to really impact and direct change towards the actual processes of the system. Because we can change the leadership, we can change the people that are currently hired and operating within it. But if we do not change the system itself, everything will everything will revert back to how it was within potentially 5 to 7 years of when those individuals leave and new people come in. We have to change the system. So those are things, conversations that we are doing. I'm just got off the phone and having a meeting with a couple of the other mayors here within Travis County and doing the same and trying to come together and see about trying to have a systematic change on our areas as cities so then we can come together as a voice and say we've changed, why aren't you changing for certain things that we identify at the county level, and then combining with the county and turning around and saying, state, why are you not changing? We made changes, right? So that's that piece about the society and justice within the law enforcement. But I also want to add that what we're going to be doing too is I've asked Isaac Rowe from Man and Me, Mr. Felix from the Manor Men and Women, Rose Smith from the Black Women in Business, and I got two other organizations I'm still going to be speaking with that we want to hold a Juneteenth observance event, unity event. And so on Juneteenth, present a proclamation, have some inspirational words, right? Where we where we came from, what we've currently gone through, and what we still need to do from a constructive point of view and from a constructive, actionable items. And then do a unity walk. Because the only way we're going to get through and be able to do what needs to be done to make that change is going to be through us all together, the law enforcement, the justice system, right? The city hall, council members, in the community. We all have to row in the same direction to make any type of impact and change. And regarding the COVID-19 situation, uh, really working with the other mayors within the county and really trying to get that money from the CARES Act that was designated to come down to the local level, trying to get that money down to us as quick as possible. If for whatever reason, due to some liability aspects, is what the county is telling us in monitoring and reviewing how the dollars are spent, or else if they're improperly spent, you have to pay it back. If that money does not come down to us for whatever reason of that liability aspect of it, then working with the county to ensure their county level services, right? Their county level services that they're using this CARE Act money for is worked in collaboration with us at the local city level so we can ensure that we get our proper equitable portion designated for our population. And the reason I say that is because the per capita they received, most of that money or a portion of that money came off of each individual within our city. That's how that total pot of money came about. So if you're like me, I'm asking you, hey, reach out to your county commissioner, county court, and say, hey, um, we understand you may have a concern with liability in relinquishing that liability down to the cities, and having to pay a debt if the cities may misuse the money. But we get it. However, if you do a blanket approach, provide services across all 22 counties, we just want to make sure we have a designated amount of money from our per capita available and designated for City of Manor individuals for a certain amount of time to access before it just becomes general money for the whole Travis County to be able to utilize, right? Um, so in a sense, that's saying the money that was received for you is going to be used on someone else outside the city of Manor. And that's what we don't want to have happen, right? And additionally, from there, want to talk about just yesterday, Monday, we had our first Manor Economic Development Committee meeting, and to move forward with trying to establish a comprehensive plan to provide to the city constituents for y'all's input, so we can hopefully go to vote and have something designated for how the city will make decisions going forward from an actual plan that the community wants, more so than kind of how the council in the mayor may agree and align with certain decisions being presented by city council. Presented by City Hall. So more of a formal process that everybody in the community will understand why certain things are being zoned a certain way, why certain things are being passed on that may present themselves as things to bring to the city, something that everybody has voted on. And what we're doing, we met, we talked about bringing all documents together that have been put in place for different types of constructions and so forth, to review that, and then also be able to identify certain things we would like to see within the city, and then be able to use that, put it together, come up with what we believe that data is telling us as far as the way forward for the city, and then be able to present a draft of what we believe is the recommended way ahead to the community for you all to put your be able to put your input in. Um, and then also the last thing before I move on is the school district is doing a great job in ensuring that our youth have their graduation. And as the city by the state code and because of the local disaster is designated as the safety and health entity for anything that's going on and occurring while this national disaster, state disaster, county disaster, Manor disaster is going on. Just know we are working diligently with them, and we'll even have a walkthrough or dress rehearsal this coming up week, to just make sure that everything, the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, to make sure the health and safety measures are there, because Murphy's Law happens, and we all together collaboratively want to make sure that the kids not only are able to experience their graduation, the parents who persevered in whatever way to ensure that they made it to graduation, the family members that may decide to come after the allotted number of tickets to see that and to experience that. We want to make sure that your health and safety is not something that ends up being secondary. So we are working together to make sure that everything that is laid out is good to go. So looking forward to seeing that graduation event, and congratulations to those that are graduating. Other than that, those were the updates that I wanted to be able to provide and give some full further clarity on what we're doing within City Hall, within City Council, to help make Manor stronger than it already was going into these two unfortunate situations. Thank you.